I've fought to keep this planet safe. Your power's gotta be due any day now, son.
Morning! I'm scared, Dad. What if I can't do this?
Follow me. Slow down. Land. I said land. Stop! Get up.
I'm actually getting used to this a little.
That's not good.
You need to be better. After everything he's done, how can I live up to all that?
You need to decide what kind of hero you want to be.
That was you! In the blue and the yellow?
Why don't you meet the team after school?
May we count on you in the future?
Yeah, I think so. And bored of this.
We need to talk. What I'm about to tell you will change everything.
Dad.
Aloha. This is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, coming to you live once again from beautiful Hawaii here on the island of Oahu, bringing you, yes you, the best TV show reviews on the entire island of Oahu. And yes, this is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man. And last week was the final episode of the 8-episode Amazon Prime series, animated, called Invincible. And, well, without further ado, remember our rating scale. Shaka thumbs up, it's good to see, I recommend it. Shaka thumbs down, it's bad to see, it's junk, I don't recommend it. And for the animated series 8-episode on Amazon Prime, it is a Shaka thumbs up. Now, for those who are not familiar with the Invincible comic book, which this is based on, this is by Robert Kirkman of, yes, that Robert Kirkman of The Walking Dead fame. And about the same time that he was doing the comic book for The Walking Dead, all those many years ago, he had also started another comic book for Image Comics called Invincible. And essentially, it is a story of, you know, best described as Superboy being raised by Superman. But in this case, you know, since it's Image, it's not, you know, Marvel and the Avengers, it's not DC and Superman and the Justice League. It is an entirely different world with entirely different heroes, which gives it a new and different, unique perspective. Where Robert Kirkman is, of course, able to do whatever he wants with this comic. And it is very bloody and violent at times, but also amazingly touching and heartfelt as well. So like I said, Matt Grayson, which is the son of the world's greatest superhero, Omni-Man. Think Superman, just super strength and invulnerability and flight and super speed. No X-ray vision apparently, maybe super hearing. No heat ray vision either. So essentially all just punchy stuff. And Invincible, Matt Grayson, you know, I'm sure he got, you know, Robert Kirkman got the idea of maybe Dick Grayson and, you know, instead of a ward, how about a ward to Superman before, you know, because this is before the Superboy remake comic really came to its own, you know, and being on there in DC on Teen Titans as well. But essentially, yes, Matt Grayson stars as Invincible, his son, who begins to get powers like his father, invulnerability, super strength, and flight, and decides that he wants to follow in his father's footsteps and help protect the world and beat up bad guys as well. But as being young and new to this, and his power still coming into fruition at puberty as a young teenager, he is not as powerful, of course, as his father, who has had years and years developing his powers. We discover that Omni-Man is an alien from a different planet, a planet of super people, basically, and he is said to be here on Earth as bringing peace and stability to Earth. There is also various superhero teams on the planet, but Omni-Man has decided to work alone, but still befriends some of these different teams. The most notably is one by the immortal Darkwing, apparently. Who are some of the other? There's a Wonder Woman clone, a Martian Manhunter clone, which I think is just named the Martian or something. Maybe Martian Man, actually. And this is a little different from the comics. The teams are a little differently stocked, per se. And so is the specific fate of these teams, as I will go into spoilers now. Basically, we find out that Omni-Man is not the benevolent hero many of us had thought, or that he had convinced the world that he is, having married, had a son, and now having raised his son to teenagehood, and with his powers, he can now move into the next phase of his mission by his people, the Bitramites, which is planetary conquest. So he kills basically the Justice League on this planet in a very bloody fashion and bloody fight, something you'd never see from Marvel or DC. And in the comics, I have to say it was pretty bloody, but it's even more bloody, I think, in this animated series. So I do give props to Amazon Prime and Kirkman for really fulfilling what he wanted to do with this vision. So Omni-Man destroys them, leaves it as a mystery as to who had done it. So that he can have more time to, get Mark over to his side of planet conquering, because that's what Bitramites do. They land on a planet and they slowly take it over and take it into their empire. Usually it's done just as he has done, but he kind of slowed down a little bit because he fell in love and had a son. But now that he is grown and with powers, he can go ahead and fulfill this and bring his son into the Bitramite Empire. And if there is any flaw with this show, other than the shock a thumbs up, and still it's a shock a thumbs up all the way, it is that we see Omni-Man do this right at the beginning, at the end of episode 1, maybe just at the start of episode 2. So we know that he's evil, and the rest of the world has to slowly, including Mark, Invincible, his son, has to come to that realization that his father is evil, that his father is a killer, a murderer. And, whereas in the comic, it had remained an entire mystery up until later in the run of the comic books. And I think that's how it should have remained. Because knowing that, you never fully invest in what Omni-Man is doing and who he is, even though you are invested in Mark, his son, which the story predominantly follows. It's hard to sit there and watch him continue to praise and seek admiration from his father, knowing that what we know as the audience, that he is the killer. I think, just like in the graphic novel and the comics, had we been slowly brought to that mystery, it would have had more impact. But in what Kirkman lacks as mystery in this show, he definitely continues to make up for in bloody battles, to say the least. Concluding with Mark realizing and finding out that his father is set on world domination. The United States government basically opposing him, seeks Mark's help in stopping him. Mark does his best, but he is no Omni-Man, no full-fledged Superman yet, possibly someday. And his father whoops his ass royally. In fact, other than being invincible in namesake, Mark Grayson, through most of his fights, gets his butt whooped, which I think, believe it or not, keeps him very humble throughout the 8 episodes. So that's very interesting and funny to see. But yes, it culminates in episode 8, where Omni-Man, his father, beats him almost to death, trying to recruit him to take over the world with him. But despite all of that, due to mainly his mother's upbringing, and then also, having been raised with Omni-Man, his father, as a hero and always looking up to him, he continues to fight, the good fight, all bloodied and beaten to a pulp, weak punches he throws at his father, not having any effect on him, as his father continues to not only smash his face in to even more bloodiness, but also kill countless civilians along the way, so that the entire world knows the secret now. Think of that Man of Steel fight in Superman Man of Steel at the end with Zod, but much more casualties, worldwide casualties, not just what we saw in Metropolis, but throughout the United States and throughout the world as well. That's the scale and the scope of it. So but in the end, apparently Mark's perseverance, Invincible's perseverance, dissuades his father enough to leave the planet. Perhaps in the comics, he goes back to his home planet to prepare for the larger invasion. What this series is going to do in season 2, it may follow that, but it has altered slightly from the comics, so it's still interesting to watch and see what they might do in seasons 2, which has already been greenlit, and then also season 3, which is also greenlit as well. We are introduced to Alan the alien of the Galactic Council, a coalition of planets that stand against the Bitramites and thus Omni-Man. And hopefully Earth will probably, as in the comics, affiliate with them to, try to hold off this invasion. But as Robert Kirkman has said, this story could go anywhere, and it will definitely go into the galactic larger scale, as much, if not more, than the comic has already done so. Think in the lines of The Boys, and then plus it up a notch, not for gratuitous sex or nudity, but definitely bloodshed and violence, and you will have the series Invincible. And if you enjoyed The Boys, you will definitely like Invincible. The only drawback is it is animated. Some people really don't like animated, but if you've loved anime throughout your life, you will definitely love this one. If you don't know Invincible, then, aside from my spoiler note here, you'll find this story surprising and incredible to watch. But even if you do know the story, it was still incredible and interesting to watch, and I highly recommend it with a Shaka thumbs up. All right, thank you so much. This is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, giving Invincible on Amazon Prime a strong Shaka thumbs up. Check it out. 8 episodes. Probably at least a year to 2 years before we see season 2 drop. Again, it was week to week on Amazon, which is another reason my review is so late, because I wanted to binge it all at once, which is the way it should be. And I wish Amazon would go back to their old method of copying Netflix and just doing it like that, because they really didn't get a bump week to week with this show. So they should just go ahead and drop it all at once. All right, thank you so much. Mahalo and aloha.